There we go, recording started. So this class is being recorded. It'll be available hopefully in just a couple of hours if I can get it processed today, but at the latest tomorrow at slmtraining.com, just like all of our other Placester 101 and 201 classes. Those are all recorded at slmtraining.com. If you'd like to listen in via your phone, if you're having trouble getting it to work on your computer, or if you just prefer to listen on your phone, there are instructions right there on the screen, and I just sent them to you in the chat window. Speaking of the chat window, for those of us who are joining us, excuse me, those of you who are joining us since the sound check there, if you'll look up near the very top of the screen here, you should have these same 5 buttons that I do. If you'll click on this one just to the left of center that looks like a speech bubble, that'll open up the chat window here. This is where you're going to send me questions as we go throughout the class. I won't be able to hear you, but I am monitoring that chat window there. So send me your questions if you do have them. Before we get started, make sure that you're using any browser besides Internet Explorer. If you have Windows 7 or Windows 8, Internet Explorer may still be installed on your system. If you can, upgrade to a more modern browser like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, because Internet Explorer was retired over 3 years ago and no longer works with a lot of websites, including Placester. The Placester system will not load on Internet Explorer, so you want to use a more modern browser. If you have Windows 10, you don't have Internet Explorer. You have Microsoft Edge, which has replaced Explorer, and that one works just fine with the Placester system. Now, one thing to point out, and I'm glad you asked me about this. Who was that? Someone asked me. Candace. I'm glad you asked me about this. There has been a change in the single sign-on system from KW International last September, and since then, every once in a while, no matter which browser you're using, the Placester system will ask you to log in, and there isn't any login information. It should just take you directly into Placester, and if you're experiencing that, seeing that login screen from Placester, I've just sent you the link to instructions where you can fix that on your end. This class does assume that you've already worked through the Placester 101 class, that basic Placester class. If you haven't and you found yourself in the incorrect class, definitely go back and check out that recording at slmtraining.com or join us next month. We do the Placester 101 class the first Wednesday of the month, 1:00 p.m. Okay, now that our prereqs are out of the way, let me minimize this. And we're going to get started with our Placester 201 class here. From Placester 101, you'll remember that the way to access Placester is through MyKW. So make sure that you're logged into your mykw.kw.com homepage. Once you're on your MyKW homepage, up in the very top black menu, hover over Technology, and then we'll click the third option down, which is KW Websites. On this page, you should have a big red Go to My Website button right in the middle. If you don't have this button, refer back to Placester 101 for how to get this button. I'm not going to cover that again in this class. We'll just click on Go to My Website to go into the Placester interface, which should open in a new tab. Once the Placester interface finally loads, which can take some time, excuse me, we've covered this page on the Placester 101 class, so we're just going to jump right into the Edit Site link right here to go work on our Placester site. If we'll scroll down here to the More section, where we finished off in Placester 101 was Custom Domain. This is where you can change the address of your KW provided address. You can change this first part here before the .kw.com, or if you're in Canada, .kellerwilliamsrealty.ca, you can change this first part. Or if you have a custom domain, you can get that connected to your site right here. Now, if you want more information about choosing a custom domain, where to get one, what your custom domain should be, we actually have a page on our site that describes all of that, and it includes a link for a 99-cent custom domain from GoDaddy for the first year. Now, after the first year, it would be regular price, which typically isn't very expensive, usually something between $10 and $20 per year, depending on the domain that you've chosen. But certain other domains may get really expensive depending on what you've got. What am I trying to say there? So if you want information about choosing a custom domain or having us connect your custom domain to your site, definitely check out that page. If you already have a custom domain and you want that connected to your site, we have that as a complimentary service through your Market Center subscription also. So exiting the custom domain section here, we're going to come down here to site tracking. This is where we're going to pick up on Placester 201. This is our new information as we get started. Site tracking tracks the activity of visitors to your site. It tracks what they're doing. It doesn't track who they are. You'll only get activity information. Where did they come from? Where did they go? Where did they come from? Cotton Eye Joe, that kind of thing. But no, did they come to your site through a search engine, through Facebook, through an email link, that kind of thing? How long did they stay on your site? Which page did they land on your site? How many pages did they view on your site? What are the most viewed pages on your site? That kind of thing. Oh, and how long before they left your site, or how quickly did they leave your site? That's the kind of information you can get through Google Analytics. We can actually set that up for you as a complimentary service through your Market Center subscription, and I'm sending you the link where we can get that there, where we can get that taken care of for you there. By the way, we get a lot of questions about this. If you want to have these links that I'm sending you in the chat, maybe you're watching this on a recording or you didn't get into the chat soon enough, we can send you these notes. Just send an email to support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can get these notes to you. Scrolling down a little bit, we've got the Google conversion tracking. We're going to skip that because that gets into Google AdSense, Google AdWords, ads that are posted on Google search results. We're not going to cover that. We're going to skip down here to Facebook pixel tracking. Facebook Pixel is for if you're running ads on Facebook, this is where you can get some of that who information. You set up your ad, you set up your Facebook Pixel, and then you put your Pixel ID in here. And if someone comes to your site from your Facebook ad, that's where you can get that who information through Facebook. You'll get the what information also through the Google Analytics, but then you'll also get the who information, name and email and things like that through Facebook because that's connected to their Facebook account. If you want more information about setting up the Pixel ID, just send us an email at support@scottleroymarketing.com. We can help you out with that. We don't have a form that you can fill out. We would just need some information from you. Again, from our Placester 101 class, if you make any changes to this, make sure to click your green Save button down here at the bottom to apply those changes. Placester always seems to slow down when I'm doing this class. Okay, underneath site tracking, we've got site verification. This is verifying that you are the owner of this site in order to use these three services here. These services require you to verify that you can make a specific change to your site that they're dictating to prove that you have access to the back end of the site, that this is your site. Google and Bing Webmaster Tools is essentially search engine optimization tools. They offer free services for those those two search engines that will suggest things that you can do for your site, things about content and headers and things like that. So you can welcome to set those up yourself, or we have another complimentary service where we can set up Google Webmaster Tools for you. We don't set up Bing Webmaster Tools for you because Bing is really that redheaded stepchild. Google is really the one that matters. But if you do set up Bing Webmaster Tools and you're curious about how to get that ID into this box correctly, we can help you with that as well. Just email at support@scottleroymarketing.com. The last one here for Pinterest is again verifying that you are the owner of this site, but that's so that if you create a Pinterest business page, you'll be able to list your website on that business page. Without this verification, they won't show your website address on that page. So if you have questions about that, again, send us an email, support@scottleroymarketing.com. And actually, if you want more information about all of our complimentary services through your Market Center subscription, you'll just visit scottleroymarketing.com/support. And that's the full list of, it's close to 4 dozen now, complimentary services that we can do for you through your Market Center subscription. And then lastly, about the Webmaster Tools and search engine optimization, if you want to quote unquote improve your site, and that's going to be very subjective depending on the person and the site, we do have a guide for search engine optimization for your website, and I just sent you guys the link for that as well. Okay, so we'll exit the site verification section here. And then the last thing we'll cover here in site settings is this Ssl certificate. The short story is leave this on. You probably will never need to turn this off for any reason. I've only ever had to turn this off once for one particular custom domain that for some reason refused to actually go over to the site with this SSL turned on. We're not sure what caused that. I don't remember the domain provider. Pretty sure it wasn't GoDaddy. So for the vast majority of the cases, you want to leave this on. This is security for your website. People are submitting semi-sensitive information on your site through those lead capture forms, email addresses and phone numbers, and sometimes physical addresses through like the, what's that called? Home valuation form, what's my home worth? And depending on where they are, that may not be secured on the network they're on. Say they're at a coffee shop or a library or something. Theoretically, a hacker could be sitting on that network as well, trying to grab personal information as people submit it via forms like the ones on your site. With this SSL turned on, that's impossible. It encrypts it from your site to when it gets over to you. So you want to leave this on for the vast majority of cases. I've only ever seen one case in 5 years where this needed to be turned off. Actually, the Placester sites have only been around for 3 years. So one case in 3 years where this needed to be turned off. So we'll just exit that. You don't need to turn this on. It's already on by default. We'll just exit this. So we finished with site settings here. We're going to spend the rest of the class on pages, blog posts, testimonials, and areas, and we'll just work our way from left to right. One of the questions I get a lot is what's the difference between a page and a blog post? And I'm glad you asked. A page is more of a static fixture on your site. It's usually going to be in the same place, have the same information. You want it to be accessible the same way all the time, and you want it to be easy to find on your site. A blog post is a little bit more mercurial. It's a little bit like a what's that called? A newspaper article or a magazine edition. You expect newer versions to push down and push out older versions. The older versions can still be found. There's an archive or a drawer or something that you put it into, but it's harder to find them. You have to go through more to find those versus the newer ones. And so the blog posts are going to be more changeable and things that are going to be more time sensitive. We'll go into more about what each of those are and creating those in just a minute. Testimonials are just that, testimonials. There is no system for clients to submit a testimonial on your site by default. Any testimonials on your site need to be added manually by you. And if you think about it, that's a good thing. You don't want people submitting, what's the word for written lies about somebody? Is it libelous? You don't want people submitting libelous testimonials about you when they're just angry over something you can't control, things like that. So you're in control of what testimonials are on your site. We do have a complimentary service where we can add a testimonial submission form to your site, but you review those before they actually get put onto your site. And then areas is essentially articles about specific areas in your service area. So usually it's going to be like a subdivision or a particular neighborhood or things like that in your service area. And it's going to pull information from the MLS for listings to show on those pages. And we'll get more about that in a little bit. For now, let's click over here to pages. So the first thing you'll notice on this page is this big plus sign here. You'll notice that's exactly the same for blog posts, there we go, and testimonials and areas. All of these have this big plus sign to create a new one of whatever it is you're looking at there. New page, new blog post, new testimonial, that kind of thing. We'll get into that in just a minute. Underneath that, you'll see a number of pre-existing pages that are created by default on your site. This should be about the full list here. There may be one or two that I missed. Newer versions of the Placester sites have more default pages than the older versions, and I'm not sure what they changed or why it wasn't updated for everybody. But newer versions of the Placester site, which is mostly going to be you guys that are watching this class, should have all of these pages here. Now, whether or not you actually want to display these pages in your menu is up to you, and you can refer back to Placester 101 for how to edit your menu, how to add and remove and drag things around. If you want to edit any of these existing pages, you can either click on the name or on the edit link over on the right. And if you want to completely delete the page, you can click on remove over on the right. The only ones you can't remove are the about page and the listing search page, which there's no reason to remove a listing search page. You really, really need that on your site. That's half of the point of your site. So you want to leave that listing search page on there. So I'm glad they removed the ability to remove that. We're going to come up here and click our plus sign now to create a new page. And starting at the top, slug here just means address. I don't know why they call it a slug. Address or URL or URI is the more accurate term, but slug means address, and you can just equate that in your head. The slug is dictated by the page title. It'll take whatever you put in this box and stick it at the end of the address here automatically. Something like that. You'll notice it's stuck at the end there, highlighted, lets you know that that's new. The page title and the slug will always exactly match. You can't have a different slug versus the page title. I know on a lot of other website systems, like WordPress especially, you can set the address and then set the page title to be a little bit different, but here in Placester, they are 100% synced. One matches the other. In between the slug and the title is the template. This is what type of page that you're creating, and we'll go through these really quickly right here. The About page is pretty self-explanatory. It's an About page. It's automatically created with your site. There's not really a reason to create another one, so you can just leave that alone. As I drop my, as I hover my cursor down a little bit, you'll notice that it skips right over Agent Index. This is not like a glitch or your computer not keeping up with me moving. It actually will not let me select or click on Agent's Index. And that's because that's part of an upgrade package from Placester. So if you're maybe the lead agent on a team and you want to have individual pages for each member of your team, that's what that would be, is an Agent's Index. And you'd have a new section up here at the top for agents, and it would list whatever agents you create there on that Agent's Index page. And while we're on the subject of that, the word index means list. Anytime you see the word index, think list. List equals index, index equals list, equals index equals list. I want you guys definitely to understand that an index is a list. So the Agents Index, the Areas Index, the Blog Post Index, the Rss Feed Index, the Testimonials Index, those are all lists. Coming down here to the Areas Index, index means list, and this is a list or an index of areas that you create up here under this section. We'll talk more about that later. Got a Blog Post Index. Yes, I'm glad someone got the joke there. Yes, an index is a list, viewer 9 there. A blog post index is a list of, you guessed it, blog posts that you create in here. And there should be some that are created by default in your site. It's up to you whether you want to keep those default ones or delete them and just start over, create your own, or just delete them entirely and not have a blog on your site. That's up to you. That one is, again, created by default under Pages there, so you don't need to create another one. Client profile is that if you look back on the Pages page, I'll open that in a new tab here. Well, it didn't let me open it in a new tab. This Your Favorite Listings page, that is that client profile page. That's a list of pages, or excuse me, listings that people that have created, where am I here? People that have created an account on your site, if they have favorited any properties, the client profile page or that Your Favorite Listings page, same thing, are going to list those properties that they've favorited. So this is Your Favorite Listings as in the site visitor rather than Your Favorite Listings as in the agent. That instead is a featured listings page. If you want to show just your listings or just your preferred service area, things like that, the featured listings page will take the settings that you put over here in site settings for featured listings, and it'll be a whole page of nothing but those listings. Coming down here to contact page, that one's automatically created on the site as well. No need to create another one. It's got the contact form, self-explanatory. Custom landing page is another one that it actually skips over here and won't allow me to select it or click it. That's another one that's part of an upgrade package through Placester. And I'm not sure exactly what that landing page is supposed to be, because now they've, by default, the site is created with a What's My Home Worth page. So I don't know why that's part of an upgrade package still, but you can contact Placester for more information about that. The default page template is the one that you're going to use most often. This is where you're going to be able to create basically your own custom content. You can put in your own videos, your own images, your own text, format it any way you want to, and this is just going to be a general page that you can make for maybe buyer resources or previously sold listings or things like that. Under that, we've got a featured, we already talked about the featured listings page. Listing search page is automatically created on your site again, and it's self-explanatory. It's the page where site visitors can search for listings. RSS Feed Index, you may or may not actually see in your list here. That's because this is exclusive to the Madison and Madison Metro themes that are exclusive to KW. If you've chosen one of the other themes, the Plymouth, Fremont, Phoenix, whatever they are, you're actually not going to have this option in the dropdown for this RSS Feed Index. RSS stands for Really Simple Syndication, and what it's really for is, say you have a blog on another system, maybe blogger.com or wordpress.com or something, and you want to show those blog posts here on this site without having to copy and paste them. One way to do that, there are multiple ways, but one way to do that is using this RSS feed index. You would go over to that service where you've already got your blog, find your RSS link, Really Simple Syndication, RSS. You may need to contact the support for that service for how to find that. We don't have that information. You'll get that RSS link. You'll come here to this RSS feed index page type and paste it in there. And it would automatically bring over the posts from wherever that is into your Placester site. Now, one drawback to this is it doesn't actually bring them over with images. It's only text, and then they can click through to actually view the the blog post on your other system there, and that would have images. But here on the Placester site, the preview that it shows doesn't have images. It's just the text and the link. Under that, we've got Real Satisfied ratings and reviews. Real Satisfied is essentially Yelp for real estate agents, and if you've got a paid Real Satisfied account, you can actually connect that to your Placester site to automatically bring those reviews over here to Placester. Again, you do have to have a paid Real Satisfied account to do that. You don't have to pay Placester anything for it. You have to pay Real Satisfied to have that connected there, and that's roughly what it looks like here. You set up your Real Satisfied integration with your paid Real Satisfied account. And then lastly here, we've got a testimonials index. And what does index mean? List. And this is a list of whatever testimonials that you create here under this section. And we will be creating one of those in just a minute. But for the time being, let's select that default page template here just to see what the different parts of creating a page look like. So again, we've got our slug and our title. And since I left the page, it lost my title. So there we go, it sticks that at the end there. Coming down here into the page content section, you've got your regular Wysiwyg formatting bar. What you see is what you get. That's an abbreviation for Wysiwyg, or Wysiwyg is an abbreviation for that. Anyway, you can do your paragraphs and headings and bold, italic, underline, links and images and videos, all that fun stuff up here. And if you're really savvy, there's actually a button here for View HTML where you can put in your own HTML code to format the contents of this page. Now, this code is not going to format your entire site. It's just going to format the contents of this page. So everything outside of the actual column that this page is shown in would remain exactly the same. It's just whatever this page is, whatever you put into this box down here or in the HTML box here would be formatted via this code. Underneath that, we've got a couple of checkboxes here. This checkbox for display full width is great for quote-unquote landing pages. So we've got, like I said, that service for the What's My Home Worth complimentary page. If you've got maybe an older version of the Placester site or you accidentally deleted your What's My Home Worth page, we can get that added back for you through Google Forms. And when we do that, we use this button for, this checkbox for display full width. What that does is on the Madison and Madison Metro themes only, not any other themes, on the right side of every page is the contact form and the listing search form. The checkbox here for display full width removes those and it just shows whatever you've got in that page content section up there all the way across the page, which is great for, like I said, a landing page, which gives them just one option to do on the page, fill out the form. They're not confused by another two forms over on the right. And then this checkbox for add this page to my menu is pretty self-explanatory. Check this box. When you click save, the page will automatically be added to your menu. Now, this checkbox only appears the very first time you're creating a page. If you ever come back and you're editing the page, say you saved it and you come back and you click on the name or you click on that edit link, you're not going to have this checkbox for add this page to my menu. So if you didn't add it in the beginning, you would need to go to the menu section and add it manually, which is not very hard to do. You just select it from a drop down and click add and then click save. Most times, for most pages that you're going to create, we are going to recommend leaving this box checked, but there are a couple of things, like we have a not a testimonial, an open house sign-in form we can add to your sites that we leave this box unchecked for. We don't want that available in the menu all the time. Instead, we send you the link for that page, and you can just open up that page only when you're at a open house. You can leave that open on your computer or on your iPad, and then when you leave, you close it, and it's not super obviously public on your site. It's still accessible if somebody wanted to try to type that address, but nobody's going to know that address if you don't tell it to them. Underneath that, we've got a section here for meta title and meta description, and let's see here. I thought I had a note for that. I don't. Okay, so for meta title and meta description, these are for SEO here, search engine optimization. This is how search engines are going to view and treat this particular page. The meta title shows in two places. One is up here in the browser tab. You see where it says Placester, and then over here, my KW. That's the meta title for these two pages. So whatever you put in this box is going to show here in the browser tab. It's also, oops. Not type right now. It's also the blue link that shows on search engine results. So the Scott Leroy Marketing right here, that is our meta title. So whatever you put in this box is going to show on the search engine results. Now there's a soft limit of about 55 characters in this box before it truncates it, before it cuts it off with a ... like this. It doesn't hurt anything if it's longer than 55 characters, but people actually just aren't going to see it on the search engine results. You may want to go ahead and make it longer than that so that it includes what's it called, relevant things about your site or about your page, but people aren't going to see it, but the search engine will. So for a meta title, typically I recommend having the most important, most specific information up front, and typically when you're creating a page, that's going to be the title of this page. So this page is test page, and then from there you want to follow essentially the same pattern, the same convention, like I call it, as the meta title in the site info section, and that's under site settings. So you would basically paste in whatever you've got in the meta title in your site info section into here. So it would be something like Scott Leroy, and then a lot of people put in their phone number. Something like that. And a handy dandy guide for roughly where 55 characters is about the edge of this field. So more or less around Ssl, maybe in or Orlando, but more or less around this spot here is where a search engine would truncate that. So that's really easy to see there. So if you want people to be able to see on the search engine result the title or parts of the title, make sure that they're before the edge of that box there. Down here for meta description, this is also used for search engine results. It's the gray text that shows here underneath the blue link that you put in the meta title. You've got a little bit more room here, about 3 times as much room. It's 155 characters versus just 55 before, again, it truncates it using that ... there. So for the meta description, you can be a little bit more verbose and explain a little bit more about what this page is or what your site is. Now, one thing I want to cover is that this is absolutely not for quote-unquote meta tags. Meta tags fell out of fashion with search engines 10 plus years ago because people were loading up their meta tags with things that had nothing to do with their website and just to try to be found on search engines higher. And search engines are way smarter than that now. So instead, your meta description should be a helpful, person-readable description of what's going to be found on this page before somebody clicks on it in that search engine result. So this welcome to Scott Leroy Marketing, blah, blah, blah. This is our meta description here, and this describes what our website is about, cost-effective digital marketing solution. So here, we're not going to do something like homes for sale in Orlando, property for sale in Orlando, land for sale in Orlando, homes for sale in Orlando, that kind of thing. We are not doing that. Instead, we want to do something helpful that does include our quote-unquote tags or quote-unquote keywords, but in a regular, normal English person-readable way. Scott Leroy is your local resource to buy, sell, or rent a home in or actually I'm going to do in Winter Park, Winter Haven, and the entire Orlando area. Something like that. And so we've got Scott Leroy tag, buy tag, sell tag, rent tag, home tag, Winter Park tag, Winter Haven tag, Orlando tag. There are tags in here, but they're not comma, 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 comma list separated. It's normal human readable language. Excuse me. So once you've got any information set up in your page here, and this is just a test page, we're not actually going to be publishing this, but once you got the information in your page, you have two options down here at the bottom to save this as a draft to be published later. You can come back at a later date and then make this page live, maybe in reference to a particular date or season or event that's going on, or you can just click save to send it live right now, and that would be available on the site immediately. We're not going to do either of those. We're just actually going to come back to our page list here, and we'll click the plus sign again just to start over, and we're going to create a couple of different pages. They're actually two index pages. Actually, now that I think about it, if you've got the newer version of the Placester site, this Testimonials Index and Areas Index may already be created in your pages list here. So if they're already here, Testimonials and Areas, we're not going to follow through with this process, but if they're not already listed here, we're going to click our plus sign, and we're going to choose Testimonials Index. We'll do that one first because it's automatically selected. You can name this anything that you want to, testimonials, reviews, happy clients, things like that. I like to call it From the Horse's Mouth, something like that, because it makes me happy and no one's actually going to see this page. It's not a real page. It's going to be gone at the end of the class. But I call it From the Horse's Mouth here, and you'll notice there is no page info section here. You're not putting your own text into the page. It's just automatically going to bring over the testimonials from this section. Then you've got your meta title and your meta description. I'm not really going to spend any time putting those in here. If you want more information about writing those, check out that search engine optimization challenge that I sent you guys earlier. I'll click, if you don't already have this page, you would want to click Save to apply that to the site. Since I do already have this page, we're going to come up and instead choose the Areas Index just to show you what that looks like. And you can call this something like Where I Work, Communities I Serve, things like that. I like Communities I Serve. Something like that. And then here you do have the option to add some page content. So I'll put in, this is some test page content to show you what it looks like on the Areas Index page, something like that. And then again, you've got that checkbox for add this page to my menu. Normally leave that checked, your meta title, your meta description, and then save to apply that page. Since I already have the Areas Index and Testimonials Index pages listed here, I'm not going to create these again, but if you don't already have them, go ahead and create those two pages because we want to work with those moving forward. Next, we'll jump over here to blog posts. There should be 4 or 5, depending on which, whether you've got the older or newer Placester. There should be 4 or 5 blog posts automatically created at the same time as your site. And you'll notice the published date here is the day that your site was created. You can't change this date, unfortunately. We get requests a lot of times from people that say, you know, my Placester, the blogs on my Placester site are 2 or 3 years old. How do I get new blog content? Well, any blog content is actually your responsibility. If you want to have new blog posts on your site, you write new blog posts on your site. And we actually have, why don't I have that here? There we go. We do have the challenge here for blogging with your Placester site. If you want more information about how to blog correctly and consistently on your Placester site, we have that option there. Oh, I mentioned earlier we have that ability to add that What's My Home Worth page to your site if you don't have it or if you accidentally deleted it. We can do that through Google Forms, and I sent you guys the link for that there. Just complete the form on our site and we'll get everything taken care of for you. Let's go ahead and click our plus sign here to create a new blog post. And we're going to give the title, and it switched the position of the slug in the title. Don't know why it does that, and it switches it back again when we get over to testimonials or areas. I don't remember which one, but title equals slug. Just remember that. So this is going to be a test blog post. There we go. Down here in the content section, this is very similar to the page content on a page. You can put whatever you want to in here, images, text, videos, links, headings, and all that fun stuff. I'm going to go get some filler text here from baconipsum.com. If anybody's familiar with lorem ipsum, it's some nonsense filler text just to show you what the page would look like with text in it. And I've got some bacon ipsum here, which uses meat words in place of the lorem ipsum text. So I'm just going to paste that in here just for giggles. There we go. Got some, actually, there we go. That looks better. So I'm going to paste that in there just to show you what text looks like on the page. Now we've got a new section here for this options. And as we move to the right, blog posts, testimonials, and areas, each of these sections is actually going to add some new fields when you're creating a new one. So here in options, the excerpt is a short summary of what this blog post is about without rewriting the entire blog post or copying and pasting the entire blog post down here. This is going to show on that blog post index as a preview of the post before someone clicks in to view the entire post. So this is a summary of the bacon ipsum text on this blog post page for the Placester 201 class today. Something like that. You can make it longer or shorter if you want to. Under that, we've got this option for featured image. This is going to, again, show on that blog post index page, on the blog page before they click through to the actual blog. And then it's also going to show at the top of the blog before all the text here. So you can use any images that you have the rights to. And if you are curious about what the rights for, or excuse me, what it's like getting rights for images to use, there are ways to pay for rights for images. You can also take your own images to use. Where is my Placester here? There it is. Blog featured image. You can also take your own images. You can hire a photographer to take images for you. Those are all perfectly legal ways to get images to use on your site. What's not legal is to just go to Google and search for pretty house and use the first image that you like. That's probably copyrighted. It's probably owned by somebody else, more than likely owned by somebody else. And theoretically, in the future, if they discover that you've been using their image on your site without their permission, they could come after you for back fees. They could say, hey, you've been using my image without paying for it. I'm going to make you pay for all the time you've already been using my image. And that is perfectly legal. That's copyright law. So you want to make sure to use images that you have the actual rights to. We have a class here for how to find images that are free. Let me send that over to you guys. It's pretty easy to do. You're just using a couple of different ways of searching, but they are free images. You don't have to pay anybody for them. Under that, we've got, again, our meta title and our meta description, and I'm not going to spend any time on those because we are on a short class. So we'll publish that. So now if I go view the live site and go to my blog page here, now I've got my new test blog post here in the index, which is a list. And if I click on the image or on read more, it'll take me, oh, here's my summary here, my excerpt. And if I click through, it'll show me the entire page with that featured image up at the top. So here is my bacon ipsum text here. Coming back to our Placester interface, we're going to jump over to testimonials. Now, by default, with the newer Placester sites, there should be 3 or 4 testimonials automatically generated in here. These are fake testimonials, just showing you this is what a testimonial looks like. In most cases, we recommend just deleting those. Click the remove button over on the right and then click the green delete button. Excuse me, because those aren't actually customers, it's just saying this is a testimonial. And this is what it looks like. So instead, we're going to click our plus sign to go create a new testimonial. You can copy over testimonials from anywhere that you have them. These are your testimonials. So if you've got them on Google, on Zillow, on Real Satisfied, and you don't have a paid account, if somebody sends you an email with their testimonial or a text message or something, that's your testimonial. You can put it on your site. So we're going to call this one Happy Buyer, that one. And then you can put in the text of your testimonial in here. So working with Scott to buy my home was an absolute dream, and I would definitely work with him again, something like that. Underneath that, we've got some new fields again. Refer is the name of this person who sent you the testimonial, whether it was your buyer or your seller, things like that. If you have the name and they've given permission for you to show that on your website, or say they put their name into Zillow or Google or whatever, that means they've given permission to display it publicly, then you can put that name here. If you don't have their name or they've asked you not to show their name, easy thing to do is just to put in anonymous and just leave it like that. Under that, for affiliation, that's what type of person is this that sent you this testimonial. Is it a buyer, a seller, maybe a co-broker on the other side of the deal, a vendor, maybe you're a supervising broker saying you're doing a great job. If it's, I don't know, an article about you in the newspaper or the magazine that says you're awesome and whatever, you can put that in here. You can maybe put, say it was that article we would do, you know, such and such magazine, something like that. Under that, we've got this checkbox here for feature on your homepage. It does say this is available only for select themes, and those themes are, you guessed it, Madison and Madison Metro. Other themes, Plymouth, Fremont, whatever, you can't show the testimonials on the homepage, only on the Madison and the Madison Metro. So I'll check that box since we have the Madison theme selected for Scott's site. Under that, here's our old friend, the excerpt and the featured image. The excerpt, again, is just going to be a summary of whatever is up here in the testimonial. Excuse me. And one thing I forgot to cover about blog posts. So for blog posts and everything after that, testimonials and areas too, if you want to, it's very easy and it's not going to hurt anything. If you want to, you can actually just copy the excerpt into the meta description. It's usually short and sweet. It's usually a good description of what's to be found on this page. And usually if somebody sees one, they're not going to see the other one. And even if they do, it's just consistency. So I typically recommend just copy the excerpt to the meta description, bing, bang, boom, easy done. What are we going to call this? You know, this is a test buyer testimonial, something like that. Under that, for featured image, this is another one where you want to make sure you have, actually anywhere on your site, you want to make sure you have the rights to use the image. So it's a great place to say you took a picture of the listing that you sold, or you took a picture of the client who bought the house. It's a great place to use that. Now, if your client has said, don't use my picture on your site, don't use their picture on your site. But if you've got a picture of the listing, that's usually a great thing to do. So for featured image here, I've got a couple of options. And we'll just see testimonial featured images. I'm going to do the people here. I'm going to pretend my clients gave me permission to show their picture on the site. And it's this nice, lovely couple here. Got again our meta title and our meta description. And like I said, I'm just going to copy my excerpt to my description. Blah, blah, blah. And then, actually, I'm going to copy that title there. There we go. So we'll save that. And now if we come over to Scott's site again and we go over to testimonials, now I've got, this is a test buyer testimonial. And if I click on more, I'll see the full text of the testimonial. All that fun stuff there, and there's the nice picture. It also shows on the home page underneath the featured properties before you get to the blog posts. There it is right there. Okay, back to our Placester interface, jumping over here to areas. This is where we're going to finish off the class, last thing we're going to cover. So if you have questions so far, definitely send them over to me in that chat window. If you missed the beginning of the class, to open up the chat window, if you'll look up at the top of your screen, you should have the same 5 buttons that I do. If you'll click on this one that's just to the left of center that looks like a speech bubble, that'll open up the chat window, and that's where you can send me those questions. Okay. Oh, also, I'm glad I have notes here. We also have a complimentary service where we can add up to 10 testimonials to your site for you. You would just submit each of those testimonials using the form on our site, and we can get them added to your site. Now, side notes, secret here, it's actually even just a lot easier to add those testimonials to your site yourself using what I just showed you, rather than trying to paste it into our form and waiting for us to get it added. You can add it instantly yourself. Secret. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so jumping over here to area pages. Again, with the newer versions of the Placester sites, there may be 3 or 4 areas that are automatically generated with your site. These are fake areas. They're not actually about your actual service area. This is going to be like downtown living, quiet living, something like that. You can delete all of those because they're not real. They're not about your actual area. Instead, we're going to click our plus sign here to create a new area page. Starting at the top, we've again got our slug and our title. The title affects the slug here, so this is going to be test area, something like that. And then we've got some new options here for this search criteria, default sort, and results per page. We'll start at the bottom here. Results per page is how many listings from the area that you're writing about do you want to show at the bottom of the page before they have to click over to the next page. You can do 10, 20, or 50. I'll just choose 50 here. Next, for default sort, this is, do you want highest price first, lowest price first, images, days on site, blah, blah, blah. All the same things from the featured listings section in the site settings section. You can sort these however way you want. Say you're writing about a brand new subdivision that things are still under construction, you might want to do year built newest. Say you're writing about a historic neighborhood, you might want to do year built oldest. Say you're writing about maybe a luxury neighborhood, you might want to leave it as price highest. Say you're writing about, I don't know why you would use any of these here, maybe days on site newest. Maybe you just want to show the freshest listing on this page from this area. You may want to do days on site newest. And then above that, we've got add search criteria. So this is searching either city, county, neighborhood, state, or zip from your MLS. And typically, the only thing we're going to recommend doing is neighborhood. The rest of these are too big. The point of an area page here is to be what's called hyper-local. You want to paint yourself as the local expert for your particular service area. And the best way to do that is to write about individual parts of your service area. You don't want to write about your entire service area all at once. Because that doesn't make you the expert. It also it also limits the amount of content on your site. And content is very, very, very important to search engines. The maxim goes, content is king. The more content you have on your site and the more that content is relevant to what you want to be found for, the better you're going to do in search engines. So we recommend just doing neighborhoods. Don't do city, county, state, or zip code. Those are much too big. Instead, just do individual neighborhoods or subdivisions here. So I'm going to select that one there. We'll click add. And then now we've got the search box here, and you would type in the name of the subdivision that you're writing about. I'm going to do we're going to do Jones. There we go, Jonesboro, the Ridges subdivision. That's what we're going to be writing about here. And if you click on the search button here, it's going to use these criteria here to show you the listings in that area. It looks like there are 31 listings in this particular subdivision. So that makes me happy. Those are going to show down at the bottom of the page. There's no reason to add any additional search criteria because it just gets bigger from there, city, county, state, and zip. Again, we recommend only doing neighborhood. Moving down here, oh, by the way, I have a little bit of an anecdote from a class that I took a good while back about these area pages. The instructor of the class had a client that he was helping with area pages and content on his site. And this client wrote an area page about a particular subdivision in his service area. It wasn't a big subdivision. It wasn't high priced. It wasn't brand new. It was just a subdivision that he knew. It may have even potentially been the one that he lived in, but it was just a subdivision that he knew about. And because he wrote this area page on his site, let me backtrack a little bit. Another reason you would want to do area pages for a particular subdivision is, say someone is on the internet and they're searching for the name of this subdivision. Most often, all they're going to find is the Zillow and Realtor.com pages for, here's a list of everything listed in that subdivision. And for a lot of people, that's not going to be super helpful. It doesn't tell them about average price in that area. It doesn't tell them about what beds and baths look like in that area. It doesn't tell them amenities. It doesn't tell them travel times. It doesn't tell them points of interest around there. And that's what you would want to put in your area page here. You want to be the expert on, this is this area, and this is everything around it, and this is everything about it. And this client of the instructor had like 3 deals within a year or two in this subdivision, just because he was basically the only person on the entire internet that had something besides, here's a list of listings in this area. You are going to have a list of listings in that area, but it's after where you make yourself the expert about this area. So again, neighborhoods. Under that, we've got this checkbox here for should this area be featured. Now, this doesn't mean featured on the home page. It means featured on the areas index page. Featured means it's going to be shown above the alphabetical list. If you don't check this box, the list is going to be just alphabetical. It's not going to be by date. So say you've got, I don't know, Aaron James subdivision or something, that would show before Betancourt subdivision. And if you check this box for Betancourt, it would show above Aaron James. And if you check this box again for additional area pages, those featured area pages would be sorted alphabetically, and then it would start over alphabetically again for the ones that are not featured. Now, if that's clear as mud, let me know. I feel like I got it, but if that's not making sense to you, definitely let me know there in the chat box. We're not going to check the box because we only have one area page here. Coming down here to upload file, this is, down here to slideshow, this is going to show across the top of your area page. Very similar to the slideshow on the home page, with one big exception. There's no limit to the number of images you can have here. On the home page, you can only have up to 5 images. Here in this slideshow, you can have as many images about this area as you want. So you can get maybe a picture of that subdivision sign. You can get a picture of the nicest listing in that area. You can get a picture of maybe a park that's near it, or a point of interest, or shopping, or maybe just down the street. Google Maps screenshot. You can put as many images as you want to in this slideshow, easy peasy. And now the problem is you do have to do these one by one. So I'm going to add a number of area page slideshows here. I'm going to use that one. Now, this is just like the homepage slideshow in that you want the images to be wider than they are tall. In fact, it says down here 1600 pixels wide by 600 pixels tall. If you have an image that's too tall, like this sailboat right here, it's going to cut it off in the middle. You won't be able to tell what it is. So take your pictures sideways instead of up and down. And I'll do one more here. Excuse me. Coming down a little further, this is where we actually get into the content of this area page. And there are 3 sections here. We've got section 1 here with a headline and body copy. There's an image that separates section 1 from section 2. Section 2 has its own subheading and body copy. And then between section 2 and section 3 are 2 separated images that are going to show side by side. And then section 3 has another subheading and a body copy. And there is no image down at the bottom of section 3. So we're just going to work our way down here. Now, before we get started, to learn more about, what's it called, creating area pages, actually, you know what, yeah. So to learn more about creating area pages, we do have a class specifically on this. We actually even have a fill in the blank template that you can use in this area pages section here, and it separates it into these particular sections. You just fill in the information about your particular area that you're writing about, and in place of the highlighted bracketed text. You delete what we've got, put in what you've got, and it's very easy to do, and I'm not going to go over it because we do have that class specifically for how to use it, but I've sent that you guys that template there. So for headline, I'm just going to call this section 1. And then underneath that for body copy, I'm going to get my Bacon Ipsum text again, just to show that there is some text in here. Come back here. There we go. Coming down a little bit, we've got the separator image between section 1 and section 2. So this one says it should be 600 pixels wide. That's a minimum number. You want it to be at least 600 pixels wide. And it's up to you whether you want this to be horizontal or vertical orientation. Either way, it's going to go across the full width of this post here. Most times you probably do want it to be horizontal orientation, wider than it is tall, just so that there's not a huge separation between section 1 and section 2, but you do want to have a separator here. So I'm got a nice pretty image of a, where are we? Of a rose here. I'm going to use that between section 1 and section 2 here. There it goes. Then we've got our section 2. Gosh, there we go. All right, and then we'll paste in our Bacon Ipsum text again. And then down here between section 2 and section 3, these are 2 side-by-side separator images that are going to show on the left and right of this column. These you do want to be vertical. You want them to be portrait orientation. And it says they should be 300 pixels wide and the same size. Again, that's another minimum number. You want them to be at least 300 pixels wide. Now, if they're not the same size, that's okay, as long as they're roughly the same ratio, as it's called. If it's, say, one image is twice as tall as it is wide, make sure the other image is twice as tall as it is wide, or 3 times as tall, or whatever. I've got a couple of images to add in here. Got a nice beach here. I have to wait for that one to finish uploading. And then I've got a nice cup of coffee here, or maybe it's tea, can't tell. And so those images are going to show side by side next to each other in the finished product. Down here we've got section 3, and then our last body copy section. And then if I come down here again, I've got an excerpt. This is a summary of this area page for Placester 201. And that's going to show on that areas index page. Then we've got a featured image again for that areas index page, and you can use any of the images you've already used in the area page, any of them from the slideshow or those separator images, or you may want to reserve one to use just for this featured image. I'm going to use this one here. And then under that, we've got our meta title, and again, for the description, we can just copy in the excerpt whenever my page decides it wants to catch up to my scrolling. Paste that there, save it. And now if we come back to Scott's site and click on Areas, now we've got this Areas page here listed on the Areas page index, which again equals list. We can click on the image or on Read More here to go see the full text of the area page. There's also my excerpt here, my summary. On the actual area page here, got my slideshow across the top whenever it decides it wants to load. There we go, slideshow through the top. Those will go through every couple of seconds there. Coming down here, we've got our section 1 and then our content text here. There's our separator image between section 1 and section 2. Section 2 and that filler text there. And then here's our separator images side by side between section 2 and section 3. And then here's section 3. And then down here at the bottom, it does show the listings from this area, pulling those from the MLS. I don't remember what I selected. I think, did I do year built newest? I don't know what I did here. But this is my images. Oh, it is sorted by price. So this is highest price first. There we go. Bureau 11. How do I get the What's My Home Worth page on my home page? It can't be added to the home page. It can only be added to the menu. And if your site didn't automatically come with that What's My Home Worth page, unfortunately, that's not something that can be generated back again. But we do have the option of that Google form that we can embed into a page on your site. And I'm sending you the link for the form on our site that you can fill out where we can get that added for you. It's a good question. That will do it for our Placester 201 class for today. This should be available at slmtraining.com, hopefully within just a couple of hours, but tomorrow at the latest. Until the next time, I will see you guys later.